as I look back on my life, the greatest legacies that I was given by people who were dear to me had nothing to do with money at all. These were mostly simple people without a lot of means, but boy, did they have common sense. And they had a lot of love to share. I'll give you an example of probably the most impactful person on my young years and even into my very young adult years before she passed away. But this aunt of mine bestowed a legacy on me and on my sisters that carries us with substance even to this day. Her name was Aunt Yole, and it was actually Lola, but none of the kids could pronounce it, so somebody started calling her Yole, and it just stuck. She was actually my grandmother's sister, and my grandmother died when I was 2, and so this lady she just sort of filled that spot. She was not a fancy woman. They lived in a small farmhouse that they had refurbished. She had a total of 3 children, and she milked cows every day, just family cows. I think there was mostly just one at a time usually. She had a couple pigs. She had a garden. And I remember going out to that garden and I would pick fresh peas right out of the garden and eat them. Pull the little pods apart and eat the peas inside until I was just full. And raspberries, fresh raspberries from her garden, and I remember green beans. I remember the smell of the downstairs where the furnace was actually a wood burning furnace, and my uncle would set it up with logs and have it burning in the morning. I remember the kind of ice cream she bought. It was a Neapolitan, and it came in the big cartons, and it had 3 different flavors in it. I think it was probably the least expensive kind they had, but we had it every night. And here's the thing, when I would visit her, everything was the same. In a very unpredictable childhood, because my mom had a lot of illness, my Aunt Yole was always a constant. It was always the same. The raspberry jam that she made and put in the freezer, the same cups that we use that she probably got out of a cereal box and collected. They were these shiny aluminum colored ones. The same Melmac pink plastic bowls that we ate Captain Crunch out of. Her legacy was to always serve people. I remember Aunt Yole would have people drop by all day long. And she'd be in her kitchen sitting at the table having coffee with them. And in the evening time, she'd be in her recliner watching TV, and my uncle would be in his recliner watching TV. And they would fight over the volume because her hearing was acute and he was deaf as a post. But that's another story. The point is that it started me thinking about legacy. It showed me that legacy is most impactful when it is coming from a life that is lived in a consistent way, in a way that is often humble, in a way that lets people know what to expect, in a way that provides nourishment and love and comfort. A legacy can be a philosophy. It can be teaching your grandchildren to value an education and to help them get there. It can be helping your grandkids learn the value of work not to slave drive them, but to have them recognize that when they do something with their two hands, the reward is that they get a look at this finished product and realize that they've accomplished something, and they've moved something, and they've changed the way the world is just a little bit, even if it's just the world inside of their own yard. Legacy can be a legacy of showing up. It can be a legacy of being the person that someone, when they are in need of a comfort or a listening ear or some thoughtful, aged, sage advice, that you are the person who is available for that. That maybe you are the person who goes the extra mile to run the errand. That maybe you're the person that provides comfort when no one else can seem to get that, when no one else really fully understands. Legacy can look like a lot of things, but what I know it doesn't look like, I know what it doesn't look like, and that is detached or sterile or without heart, without warmth. I think that legacy, when you leave it, is never perfect. It's never perfect, even with a person's best intentions. My Aunt Yol, for example, was plump, gray-haired. She was pretty much blind. She had a peasant's look about her. She was a working woman at home, and she had worked her life also away from home. But she was a productive person, and I tell you what, you would never look at her and say, boy, there's a gal who's got it going on. But she did. And she had a flock of us kids who I know today are still blessed by that legacy, by that touchstone, by that sameness. I could count on the same blanket. That was my favorite blanket. I could count on the same smell in the bathroom of her powder. I could count on her remembering to make my lunch when I lived with her for a little while when I was young. I could count on her. I could count on her. I could count on the cooking. I could count on her showing up. I could count on her being there after school. She was always the same. And so whatever legacy that you leave, or that I leave, or any of us leave, I think that a good model to follow is to have it be consistent. Have it count for people. Meet them where their needs are. And if you can't do it financially, do it philosophically. Do it with gesture. Do it with service. Do it with love. Bye-bye.